Hello everyone, sunny greetings from Belgium. We are here at the Zolder circuit and we're excited. It's a 4 km circuit and we're looking forward to a lot of race action, that's for sure. And one man who's going to fight really hard is this young man. He's only 19 years old and a rookie in the DTM. Esteban Moot, his name is. He is from Belgium, so he's the local matador. And on his car it says, never give up. So let's see what he can do here at the first race at the Lausitzring. He actually managed a pretty good position, 8th position in the race. So let's see what he will bring today. But first, of course, it's time for the qualifying. So here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome along to for now, sunny Zolder. We've had mixed conditions so far during the course of yesterday's 2 free practice sessions. It started overcast after some early morning rain, but the track was dry for free practice 1. Then we had a little sprinkling of a shower in the middle of the session. There were 2 red flags as well in that first free practice session, which rather curtailed the second half of running. And then we had a rain in the second free practice session after a dry and very sunny start. It wasn't unlike the conditions that we've now got. It was a little bit damp again. There's been some overnight rain, but the sun now seems to be out. We've got a slight delay to the start of proceedings. It'll be about a 5-minute start delay before the cars head out onto the track for this first qualifying session of the weekend. You're looking at Christian Klein there, who joins the grid for the first time this season to make it a 20-car grid. Fantastic lineup of machinery with 5 different manufacturers now on board for the season, because Christian brings the McLaren with him and the 720S. Christian, another former Grand Prix racer on the grid, 49 Grand Prix for Christian, who amongst various teams drove at one point for Red Bull, the best finish of 5th in his Grand Prix career. Still a very active racer. And he'll be up against some of the very familiar faces to DTM viewers, like Nico Muller, who comes here with probably feeling the circuit owes him something, because we had a double header here towards the end of last year. The penultimate round and the round before that, with 4 races where he came into it with his nose in front in the championship lead in this battle that he was having with René Rast, but it didn't go too well for him. He got a couple of podiums, but René won all the races, and so that put him behind in the championship going to the finale at Hockenheim. And although he could match René's results, he couldn't beat him, and René Rast took a second consecutive title, a 3rd title in DTM. But he's been going well here in practice and went well here in a pre-season test as well. So he'll be looking for good things here. It was 2nd quickest in the 2nd session, which was the quickest session yesterday. There's Vincent Abril, who'll be looking to get his first official points in the DTM. He qualified on pole in the very first session of the year at Monza and finished 2nd in the first race, but subsequently had his points taken away from him with a fuel issue. So there we've got confirmation that we've got this slight delay of just minutes to the start of qualifying. While we're waiting for the cars to come on track, we can hear from Verena down in the pits.
I'm here with Maxi Goetz, as we've got a delay, of course. We got a bit of time. Maxi, at the Lausitzring 2nd race, you had your first win, which of course was very exciting. So for the qualifying now, what can you do? Are you still kind of on a high from the first DTM win?
Yes, of course. So we are fully pumped and motivated to do the same again. It's all about qualifying, especially in Zolder, because overtaking is not so easy. So it's very important to set a good lap time, but it's even more tricky now with these conditions. It's not fully dry, it's a bit wet, the damp patches around the track, so it's going to be really interesting. And yeah, we have to nail it in the last minutes of the qualifying. I think these are the most important ones. Absolutely.
Speaking of being pumped, what is it like when you're all pumped, ready to go, and then you hear about a delay?
Yeah, all good. I think this is nicely to handle. I'm anyway in the car, so 10 minutes longer to wait, it's not an issue. I always rethinking what we're doing now. I'm visualizing the track a bit and the braking points and maybe some wet spots, so I go through, because the knowledge here it's quite important as well, and we were testing, so I have some impressions from the past days. So yeah, hopefully we can make it now.
You're emphasizing on the fact that it's a tricky track. Apart from the overtaking that it's difficult, what is so tricky about Zolder circuit?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's quite a grippy track, so you can gain a lot of G-force and speed in the corners. But then you have some narrower gravel patches close to the track, so there's not many space. In the end, we have some quick sections, like first sector was really quick. And then the second and third part, it's really narrow, so the barrier is not far. If you make a mistake, you are, maybe the full weekend is completely done, because the car is heavily damaged. So this is, yeah, we have to avoid any collision. And this is quite nice, because it feels like we are on an old Nürburgring Nordschleife track, because it's with the trees and narrow corners. It's pretty nice feeling to drive here.
Well, that's cool. I'll let you get back to it, back to your focus. Thank you so much, and you go and nail it. Thank you so much, Maxi. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Great to hear from Max Gotts there. A race winner now, of course, in the DTM. Excellent drive by him at the Lausitz-Ring to take victory. He was running in second place. You'll remember if you're watching the race a couple of weeks ago on Sunday, when he was behind, a couple of seconds behind Kelvin van der Linde, who then had his car cut out at the start of a lap. And in the time it took him to reset the car, he dropped from first to third. Max Gotts went into the lead, and Kelvin van der Linde dropped behind Liam Lawson, his closest championship rival. Had a great battle with him, but couldn't get past the 19-year-old New Zealander, and ended up in third place. That means we've had 4 different winners from the first 4 races now. So just inspecting the track at the moment, making it safe before we get the cars on track for this slightly delayed qualifying session. I'm Chris Hartley. I'm going to talk you through all of the action here during the course of this weekend. A qualifying and a race today, another qualifying and another race tomorrow for rounds 5 and 6 of the championship. So the Zolder circuit, as you've heard from Max Gotts, challenges await the drivers, particularly with these conditions. We can hear more now from Verena down in the pit lane.
And another man who's absolutely anxious, of course, to get the qualifying started is Timo Glock. Timo, we already spoke to Maxi Gotts earlier. What's it like? You're all pumped, ready to go, and then you hear about a little delay, and you're waiting in the car, ready to go, but you can't go yet.
Yeah, it's sometimes a bit difficult, because you have your rhythm, what you normally do before you jump in the car, and yeah, then you sit in there ready to go, and they tell you, yeah, you need to wait a bit more, but that's how it is. On the other side, it's good because the track is still a bit wet in some areas, so maybe the sun is drying it out a bit, so let's see. But it's going to be an interesting qualifying for sure.
In regards to Zolder circuit, what do you like most about it, and what's the trickiest part, would you say?
I mean, with our car, it's a bit more tricky here, because it's, yeah, all the tight corners, it's a bit hard for us to turn the car on, let's say. But the most fun is riding the curbs. You know, you can smash those cars quite good over the curbs, so that's good fun for sure.
And apart from the fact that you have reporters disturbing you now, what's your routine usually when you sit in the car? Do you have the track in your head and race it in your head, in your mind, or what do you do?
No, not really. I just yeah, try to be focused, try to know what I did, let's say, or what I need to do to prepare the tires, and what I did, let's say, compared to Sheldon, where I lost time to him yesterday. Try to focus on these points, and yeah, just try to stay focused until it's green light.
All right, I'll let you get back to your focus. Thank you so much, Timo. Best of luck for the qualifying. Back to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, great to hear from Timo Glock, sounding as chilled out and relaxed as ever. The 94-time Grand Prix starter, and back in the day, former GP2 champion. Timo won the GP2 championship, which was the forerunner to Formula 2, the year after Lewis Hamilton won it. So that's how long Timo has been around, and many seasons now in the DTM. Made his debut in the championship back in 2013. Took a win in that first season at Hockenheim as well. He's had 5 wins during the course of his DTM career so far, and coming up later this afternoon will be his 135th start. Start this afternoon. He's 6th tomorrow, but pretty experienced young GT racer is Max Buch. Standing in once again for Gary Paffett, who was to race here this weekend, but unfortunately travel restrictions from the UK to Belgium mean that he's had to sit out another one. He missed the first 2, Gary Paffett, the 2005 and 2018 champion, because of his commitments elsewhere. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see Gary, but another opportunity for Max to shine. There is Alex Alban, another, which seems strange to call him an ex-Grand Prix racer, but he is at the moment an ex-Grand Prix racer, currently still involved, of course, with Red Bull as a development driver. and out in recent weeks at Silverstone testing for the team, Alex Alban, but hoping to get back into Formula One, but enjoying his time in DTM for the 2021 season alongside his very rapid young teammate Liam Lawson in the other AF Corsa Run Ferrari. Liam, the 19-year-old, who is second in the championship. So coming into this qualifying session, in terms of the championship standings, Kelvin van der Linde has got 69 points, Liam Lawson has got 65, only 4 between them. Philip Ellis, with his win in race 1 at Lausitzring last time out, moved up to 3rd in the standings, so he's got 48 points. He had a non-finish with a technical problem early on in race 1, but he's been in the top 6 in all the other races, including that victory in round 3. So Philip Ellis, 48 points, 21 points adrift of Kelvin van der Linde. 4th in the championship, you've already heard from Max Gotts, and he's got 46 points, 2 behind Philip Ellis, 23 behind Kelvin van der Linde. You've also seen Alex Alban in the garage, and the Thai driver when the Ferrari has had a steady season so far. He's had 1 podium finish. He finished 4th at Monza on the road, but got elevated to 3rd with the subsequent disqualification of Vincent Abril. So 31 points and 5th in the championship for Albon, 38 behind the championship leader, with Marco Wittmann as the best of the BMW so far, 28 points, 41 adrift of the championship leader. Also on 28 points, another BMW driver, the Rover Racing teammate of Timo Glock, Sheldon van der Linde. He's 7th, 28 points for him as well, though, and he's 41 adrift of his older brother Kelvin van der Linde. There is Timo Glock, who was one of the drivers that went off the road yesterday in free practice. No real damage to the car. We had Max Buch off the road as well, bringing an early halt to the first free practice session. And then in the rain yesterday, after setting the fastest time in the dry, Daniel Hunkadea went off the road, had some damage to the back of his Gruppe M Mercedes, and we didn't see him again after that. That was just as the rain started to come down, and he got very wet for the second half of the session. But the cars have been called up now, the session is underway, and the clock starts to tick down. Christian Klein then about to go into his first DTM qualifying session, heading down the pit lane now. That glorious-looking 720S, the McLaren, run by the JP Motorsport team. So Christian's going to be taking part in 3 weekends of DTM this season. That is the plan. And the car's now heading out with championship points at stake as well. As ever in qualifying in DTM, you get 3 points for qualifying on pole, 2 points for qualifying second, and a point for qualifying in 3rd position. And they can make a massive difference at the end of the season. In terms of points scored so far in qualifying, Kelvin van der Linde table, he scored 5 championship points already across the qualifying sessions that we've had. We've had 4 points scored as well for Liam Lawson, and also 4 points scored for Sheldon van der Linde, but you can easily see those adding up to 20 to 30 points during the course of the season if you're a consistent qualifier. Esteban Muth, who we saw at the start of the show, has been a very good qualifier in general. He's had 2 fourths and a 5th, the 19-year-old, but had that 1 bad qualifying last time out at the Lausitzring, where he was only 16th. New livery on the Lamborghini run by T3 Motorsport, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we see it, no doubt, in action. Vincent Abril waiting to get out onto the circuit. Now being given the clear, the go-ahead for the Monegasque racer to get into the session, and out he goes. So just perhaps waiting to see what happens with this track. It's going to be perhaps a little bit slippy in parts by the sounds of it, from Max Scott saying there's still some damp patches out there. You can see that as they come out of the final turn here. This 4.1 kilometre long circuit here in central Belgium. Old school track, built and developed in the early 1960s, opened as a racetrack back in 1960. So there is the number 3 Audi, run by Team Am Sports, outline of Kelvin van der Linde, waiting to go out. Abril onto the track now, and waiting for the first times to come through. Just to give you a reference point, the quickest was session 2 in free practice, and in dry conditions just before the rain came out, we had a 1 minute 28.112 for Daniel Hunkadea. That was the quickest time of the day yesterday. Max Scott's quickest in the first session, but not quite as quick. Now we've got Alban nose to tail here at the start of this session on damp parts of the circuit, with Sheldon van der Linde in pursuit. Sheldon had that pole position for the first race at the Lausitzring. We've had 4 different race winners. We've had 4 different pole sitters as well this year. See how Alban gets on. Be interesting to see. It was very quick in the practice sessions and in qualifying, and good speed in the races at Lausitzring, but somehow managed not to get any points. Got caught up in a lap 1 incident in race 1, and then didn't quite get into the points in race 2. But the Indian driver getting better and better all the time. He's the driver that sets the first representative time, if you want to call it that, but it's only a 1 minute 37.283. Which is, what, 9 seconds away from yesterday's dry running time. So this is going to be the sort of session that's going to go right down to the final couple of minutes, I reckon. Incidentally, the reason for the delayed start was not due to the dampness of the circuit, of course. It was another reason. You'd see a slow-mo replay of one of the Mercedes from the DTM Classic series, which had their qualifying session just before we came on air, and that apparently had dumped a bit of oil around the circuit. So it was because the marshals had to clear up the oil on track that we had this slight delay to the start of the session. Right, Mike Rockenfeller, absolute best in the first sector, personal best in sector 2. There's going to be lots of personal bests on this lap because nobody's really gone for it yet as they get a feel for the conditions. Philippe Ellis puts in a 136.334, but he's going to get quicker and quicker and quicker throughout the course of this session. And I think probably after the break, after they all come in and change the setups, change tyres and go back out again, that's where we're going to be seeing the absolute best times. Might almost be the last one across the line that gets pole position, so it's going to be a wide open session this. Certainly going to be a busy session. They want to be on track as much as possible. Sheldon van der Linde has done 2 absolute best sectors, a 28.6 and a 32.7. But we've had a 32.1 from Esteban Moot in the second sector, so that's much quicker. So he is one to watch. Esteban currently in 5th place, but these times are going to change all the time. 131 now for Alban. Sheldon van der Linde does a 132.0. SB Hawkey is 3rd with a 132.2, and Philippe Ellis and Esteban Moot in the final sector now in the T3 Motorsport Lamborghini, about to cross the line. Timo Glock has gone quickest for now with a 129.267, but Esteban Moot for now is going to join him on the front row of the grid provisionally with a 129.4. It's a good lap. Not as good as Nico Muller though. Nico has gone fastest, 129.014 seconds, quarter of a second quicker than Timo Glock for now. Anybody else on a fly? Yes, Sheldon van der Linde, absolute best in the to 28.2 seconds. That's a couple of tenths up on anybody else and half a second up on most of the others through the first sector. We've had Nico Muller's time of 129.014 as the time to beat, now bettered by Lucas Auer though, 128.357. Mike Rockenfeller into the 128s as well, 128.536 for Rocky. So the 2013 champion had a good qualifying last time out at the Lausitzring to get 3rd on the grid for round 3 of the championship. He's up there again at the moment, but for 2nd place for now. Max Gotts though is looking like he's about to go better than everybody. Absolute best in the So Max Gotts fastest now, 128.224 seconds, 89 thousandths of a second is the gap though. Another minimal gap. We've got Esteban Moot on a flyer here. He's gone better than anybody else through the first 2 sectors. This should be the new target time, and Esteban with a 128.141, now quickest. The track getting drier and drier all the time. A personal best an absolute best through the first sector for Max Gotts. Vincent April has gone up to 2nd place with a 128.138. You're on board now with Max Gotts, round 4 championship winner, and he has got the absolute best through sector 1, 28.048, only a fraction quicker than Nico Muller's first sector. Nico's gone quickest for now. Alex Alban goes 2nd. We're into the 127s now, 127.735 for Muller. Rocky splits the pair of them. He goes into 2nd there. And the number 9 Audi with a 127.809, a 127.883 for Alban. Marco Wittmann into 4th place, 127.983. The BMWs were a bit off the pace in free practice 1, but look much better, especially Marco in free practice 2. Marco Wittmann was the quickest BMW yesterday, 4th place in free practice 2. Gotts has gone quickest with a 1:27.6 though, but for how long? Because almost every time a driver comes through, that changes. But it's Gotts now, 1:27.638, that sets the benchmark time. Absolute best in the first sector and personal bests in the first 2 sectors. Nico Muller is second on a 1:27.735, and Sheldon van der Linde 1:27.791. Mike Rockenfeller 1:27.809 and 1:27.8 as well for Moot, who's just gone 5th. Miney in 6th, Alban in 7th, 1:27.9s for Wittmann and Lawson in 8th and 9th, and Vincent Abril is the first of the drivers not in the 1:27s, the low 1:28. That puts him just outside the top 10, changing all the time though. As I say, everybody comes through. Philip Ellis is going to be up there with this lap, I suspect. It's going to be another 1:27, and it's a 1:27.644, narrowly missing out on provisional pole position. What about Alex Alban? He goes through shortly, and it's an absolute best in the second sector. Across the line he goes, and he goes to the top of the time. So Alex Albon quickest now with a 1:27.574. Rockenfeller across the line just behind him, almost matched that with a 1:27.633. Gotts 1:27.638. So you've got 64 thousandths of a second covering the top 3. But it's Alex Albon in the Ferrari that absolutely nailed it on that lap. But will it be enough with the track conditions drying and getting better and better all the time? Busy lap out there as well. Got to make sure you get track position, don't get held up. It's an absolute best through the first sector for Alex as well. So Alex Albon looking for his first pole position in DTM. Does the absolute best first sector time of 28.035. It's only 13 thousandths of a second quicker than the previous best through sector 1, but it is better. And every 100,000ths of a second is going to count in this session, you suspect. Mike Rockenfeller going well, second place at the moment. He's only 59 thousandths of a second away. Max Buch's done 2 personal bests. He's currently in 13th position. And Alex Albon loses a little bit of time through the second sector. He loses a lot of time, actually, 32.7. So he's backed off on this lap. But not backing off is Mike Rockenfeller, who did the absolute best first sector time. So he was a 10th and a half down in the first sector, but the second sector very good. Can he make it up in the third sector? Mike Rockenfeller needs a really good run at the end of the lap to snatch provisional pole position away, but he's got half a chance. We'll wait to see when he comes through. He's done it! Brilliant final sector. And that's a 1:27.548, only by 26 thousandths of a second, but he found half a tenth or so. It was all he needed, and he's got himself onto provisional pole position. But Kelvin van der Linde now going on the attack as well, with personal best sector times for him. So Mike Rockenfeller by 22 thousandths of a second, now provisionally joined on the front row of the grid by the championship leader, Kelvin van der Linde, 22 thousandths of a second adrift, 26 thousandths of a second adrift, but third is Alex Albon at 90 thousandths of a second adrift, and in the pits now in 4th place is Max Gotts, and then Philip Ellis is within a tenth as well. He's 96 thousandths of a second slower than the pole sitter, but it's enough to put him down in 5th place on the grid at the moment. It's an incredible session this so far here at Zolder. You always get the best sessions, the best races where the weather is changeable, and that's exactly what's happening here with the track drying out all the time. So some of them coming in for a quick stop, but I don't think they're going to be in for long. They want to be back on that track ASAP, because I think it's going to get quicker and quicker and quicker. Mike Rockenfeller then, top of the times, 1:27.548 seconds. And the times now comparable to what we're having yesterday in the sunny spell that we had just before the rain came down, quicker in fact. We almost got into the 1:27s yesterday, but 1:28.1 was the best, so we're 6 tenths quicker. It's the quickest the track has been all weekend long, despite the fact that some of the rubber was washed off with that early morning and overnight rain. New Michelin tyres being readied then. We've had some silly close gaps in qualifying already this year. The closest gap we had was in the 3rd qualifying session of the year, where the top 2 were split by just 27 thousandths of a second. We're even closer than that here at Zolder, 22 thousandths of a second. This wonderful, challenging, undulating circuit designed by Dutchman Hans Hugenholtz in the 1960s, the same man that developed the Suzuka circuit in Japan. Another great driver's track. Narrow, twisty, chicanes, areas where you've got to be brave on the brakes. Very quick turn 7 where you're dropping downhill and flat out going through a left-hander at the same time. and you get it slightly wrong, and you're on the curbs and in the markers. That was right on the ragged edge, though. That perfection, really, from Mike Rockenfeller, which is why he's at the top of the times for now, with 6 3/4 minutes remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers heading out of the pits at the moment, including Liam Lawson, race winner at Monza, youngest ever DTM race winner. With a busy few weeks of Formula 2 and DTM racing. He's certainly getting plenty of seat time, managing the transition between these two very different types of Kari races very well indeed. Up ahead, you can see Alex Alban going out. You're on board with Philipp Ellis, the round 3 winner at Lausitzring, the German-born Swiss driver. Went from 9th to 1st to win his first DTM race.
You have 1 car behind, is Hawkey.
So Philipp Ellis getting word of his track position from his engineer over the team radio, where you are, where you sit, and how long is left on the clock. Time for a couple more attack laps in this. 5 3/4 minutes to go. Still maybe some more to come from Alex Alban. He's only 4 thousandths of a second away from being on the front row of the grid, 26 thousandths away from being on pole position. And Alex did do the absolute best first sector before he then slowed up in the middle of the lap. Whether that was a mistake or he came up to traffic, but I think there's definitely a bit more potential from Alex if he can hook the lap together. But it's oh so tight. The gap from 1st to 5th, just 96 thousandths of a second. In 3 of the sessions so far this year, qualifying, the top 2 have been split by less than a tenth. 27 thousandths at the Lausitzring, 72 thousandths in qualifying 1 at Monza, 78 thousandths in qualifying 2 at Monza. The biggest gap we've had so far is almost 4/10 of a second in the second qualifying session at the Lausitzring, where Philipp Ellis, having won the day before, got his first pole position. Ended up finishing that race with a heavy car with the success ballast on in 4th position. There's Christian Kleen, who's 18th at the moment on his debut, 1.1 seconds adrift. Christian's done a bit of testing here, did an open test day, which he said was a bit of a waste of time. Lots of other cars on the track, we didn't learn anything. But we did get, he did get an official, well, not an official, but a private test day with other DTM teams, which was useful. So he's had some time around the circuit, but like many of the drivers, this is the first time he's gone into a competitive session in DTM at Zolder. Came back onto the calendar in 2019. A lot of the rookie drivers haven't been here at all. SB Hawkey's one driver that has been here before with single-seaters, though, in the W Series back in 2019. Daniel Angadea came here in 2019 in an Aston Martin, but had 2 DNFs. And Max Gotts hasn't raced here before in DTM. He wasn't here in the 2019 or 2020 seasons, so it's a new challenge this. The driver's enjoying it. Over 200 kilometers an hour as you ride aboard the JP Motorsports McLaren of Christian Kleen, who's really flinging it around. He's done a personal best in the first sector. We've got the top 17 within a second of each other, so he's trying to break into that group now. If he can find 2 or 3 tenths of a second, he'll shoot up the order. And his predicted lap time is to be 6 tenths underneath what he'd done before. So if he can find 6 tenths of a second, he's going to be not too far away from the top 10, top 12. Winding his way through traffic, though, because some cars are still building up speed or heading into the pits. Goes through the final chicane at Jackie Hicks, out of turn 16, uphill climb over the crest, downhill over the start-finish line. And Christian Kleen does improve up to 14th place with a 128.193. So better lap that from Christian. But now the one to watch is Max Gotts, absolute best in the first sector, 27.891. Mike Rockenfeller, though, has gone better than anybody in the second sector. Mike's already on provisional pole. Max is 4th. They're the 2 to watch on this lap. Mike is going to get to the line first, and that lap is a 127.514, slightly quicker than before. He's found another 20-odd thousandths of a second. So he extends his advantage to a whopping 56 thousandths of a second. But what about Max Gotts? Personal best in the second sector as well, but that was about a tenth of a second down, or not quite a tenth, but almost a tenth down on what Mike Rockenfeller did. but he was well up in the first sector. So Max Gotts has got a real chance here of provisional pole position if he can hold it together through the final sector. Sheldon van der Linde has gone top for now, though, with a 1:27.499 with personal best sector times. Here comes Max Gotts, though, to take the line. Is he going to take provisional pole? Yes, he is. 1:27.075. Esteban Moot just behind goes second as well. 1:27.340. 0.2 of a second between them. And Kelvin van der Linde improves up to third. The championship leader, it's pushed Sheldon van der Linde, his brother, down to fourth place now. And Liam Lawson, with his first real challenge, goes into third. 1:27.385 seconds. We've got a minute and 20 seconds left on the clock. So 1:27. Into the final minute of the session. Max Gotts with the biggest gap that anybody's had so far in this session, almost 2/10 clear of Mike Rockenfeller, who's second. Philip Ellis going well again, he's in third place. Esteban Moot has been up there all the way through the session, as he's been in most qualifying sessions. Kelvin van der Linde on track, but there, Dev Gore, Gaudi having a moment, having a spin. Kelvin van der Linde absolute best in the middle sector. Max Gotts and Vincent Abril are now the top two, though. Abril's gone up to second with a 1:27.244. Kelvin van der Linde in the number 3 Team Amp Sportsline Audi. Absolutely on the edge there. The Audi dancing out of the final chicane, sprinting for the line. Is it enough to put him onto the front row of the grid? Is it enough to put him top of the times? 1:27.054. But it's not done yet. Alex Alban, personal best sector 1, absolute best in sector 2. So Alex Alban is down in 10th place, trying to shoot up the order. Marco Wittmann's come through to third right at the end of his stint. Here comes Alex Alban. Where's he going to end up? Fourth. Alex Alban fourth. He didn't quite get onto the front row of the grid. So it looks like Kelvin van der Linde might have done it here with a 1:27.054 by 21 thousandths of a second from Max Gotts. The closest gap we've had so far in qualifying. But there are still cars to come through, and Sheldon van der Linde might just throw up a surprise. He did this at the Lausitz rink from nowhere, strung together a lap, and personal best sector times were enough to get him up the order. He's on a personal best lap here. He's only 11th at the moment, but Sheldon van der Linde is surely going to shoot up the order here. He's got a clean run through the final part of the lap. It all looks fairly neat and tidy at the moment. The 28.10 was a pretty good first sector time, but where is he going to end up? I'm sure he's going to improve. No, he doesn't. He doesn't improve at all. 11th place it is going to be with a 1:27.392. He's 0.3 of a second slower than his brother, but there are 10 cars in between them. What a session that was. So Kelvin van der Linde comes to the top of the times almost at the very end of the session with a 1:27.054, and by 21 thousandths of a second it looks like he's taken pole position. There are still others to come through, so I'm slightly cautious because you never know if somebody strings one brilliant sector together. I think that's it.
That's what I'm fucking talking about, man. Thank you.
Oh, apologies for the colourful language. Kelvin, I think he's quite chuffed.
Stay cool, my friend. Race is coming.
Stay cool, my friend. Yeah, let's just qualify. It is 3 championship points, though.
Nice. Thanks, guys, for the mega car.
Well, every point
really
counts, doesn't it?
Really good performance.
So Kelvin van der Linde will move on to 72 championship points.
Please take the data stick and remember that you need to go with your equipment to garage number 1.
Yes, and remember to do your job. Don't get too excited, says the team. So Kelvin van der Linde, 3 championship points for that. 72 points he'll move on to. His nearest rival, Liam Lawson, not in the top 3, back in 10th place. So he won't get any points, and he'll be further down the grid than he would have liked as well. Philip Ellis, 3rd in the championship, not in the top 3. So he'll extend he'll almost double his championship lead from 4 to 7 points. Max Gotts will pick up 2 points for qualifying second. He'll move on to 48 points, the same as Philip Ellis now, and a point for Marco Wittmann. Best qualifying of the year so far for Marco, and that will put him on to 29 points, still 6th in the championship. So Kelvin van der Linde becomes the first driver this season to get a double pole position. there was the moment that sent Dev Gore, the American driver, the 23-year-old from Oklahoma, into a spin right in front of Mike Rockenfeller. Had to take evasive action there. So we saw the end of that spin. We didn't see what caused it. It was a understeery moment through the gravel trap, but he managed to carry on, get back underway, ended up the session in 17th place. A frustrated-looking Timo Glock is going to be absolutely stone last on the grid. 1.4 seconds adrift. So Van der Linde, Gotts and Wittmann the top three. Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Ferrari of Alex Alban in 4th place. Mercedes of Vincent Abril in 5th. Audi of Mike Rockenfeller, who was on the front row of the grid for most of that session. He ends up 6th in the Audi. Philip Ellis in the Mercedes 7th. Esteban Moot and Nico Muller will be disappointed with 9th as well after how well he's gone so far this weekend. And then Liam Lawson definitely will be disappointed to only qualify in 10th place, because that's his worst qualifying of the season so far. He's not been out of the top 6 yet, Liam, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of chances to attack. There's the happiest driver of all, though. The championship leader extending his advantage at the top of the table, and the perfect start to the weekend after the disappointments that he suffered, of course, with that potentially lost race win with the technical glitch that he had at the Lausitz Ring. Great session as well for Marco Wittmann. He's said to me at the Lausitz Ring, if we could just get the car to qualify, it's good in the race, but they've now seemingly solved that problem. Marco Wittmann's qualifying results so far, up until today, 10th, 14th, 14th, 14th. But now he finds himself right up at the sharp end of the grid. So some great super slow-mo shots here of the drivers in a brilliant qualifying session. The closest that we've had in some very, very tight sessions. Marco Bollard's been wiped out, curbs being ridden, limits being found. And remember, they haven't really had proper runs at the track in dry conditions in the 2 free practice sessions. Some dry running in each, but not much in free practice too. And interruptions with red flags and with weather. So it was a bit of a venture into the unknown. Then, of course, the track starting with damp conditions. So it was a tricky start to the day. Right, we can hear from some of the drivers now from that session, down with Verena Vries.
Yep, and I'm here with Calvin van der Linde, and super again in qualifying. It's your 2nd pole in this season, and again you extended your lead. So you're super psyched?
I'm really happy, especially after seeing the first run. Mike and Nico, I think, were maybe just really close or slightly ahead. So I knew I had some work to do, and I really had to pull everything out. And yeah, the car felt mega on the 2nd run. I had honestly a good gap in traffic, which is always you needed at this short track. Just really happy. 3 points and starting on pole. What could be better?
Let's not forget you're a rookie, but somehow it feels like you've always been in DTM. Does it feel a bit like that for you?
I've had a couple of good teachers on my way here. I had my brother Rene, always obviously looking over the shoulder. So yeah, I've had some good teachers, so it helps.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck for the race later on. Thank you, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, great effort by Calvin there, who wasn't really up at the very sharp end for the first half of that session, but bided his time, knew the track would come to him, and put in what had to be really the perfect lap, because it was oh so tight out there. You missed an apex, you missed a braking point, you were slightly late on the throttle anywhere on that lap, and you were nowhere really, because, you know, a 1/10 of a second lost was the difference between 4 or 5 places on the grid in that session. So an excellent performance once again from Calvin van der Linde, double ADAC GT Masters champion, a Nürburgring 24-hour race winner, in action at the Spa 24 hours last weekend as well, and the Team AB Sportsline driver at the top of the times. Sheldon van der Linde just outside the top 10. Lucas Auer 12th, Max Buch. Daniel Hagedeo was quickest in free practice too yesterday, only 14th. Arjun Maini 15th, Christian Kleen 16th, Dev Gore, Esme Hawkey, Sophia Florschen, Timo Glock, perhaps a surprise there, back in last place for Timo, having looked pretty good through the session so far. It's his worst qualifying of the year. Been getting gradually better for Timo, 16th in qualifying at Monza, then 12th for the 2nd session, and at Lausitz Ring 8th, bit better still, 5th on the grid for the last race at the Lausitz Ring. So it was all going the right way, but whether he got held up in traffic, which could well have been an issue. I think there might be a few drivers saying, you know, I couldn't get a lap in, it was too busy out there. The track was with 20 cars on, it's a narrow track, and you've only got to get held up in one corner, it's going to ruin your lap. So I think there might be a little bit of that. A few drivers out of position because it was so frantic, because everybody knew they needed to be on that track for the majority of the session. So a very busy, very exciting qualifying session. If that's a taste of what's to come, you can't miss the race this afternoon, that is for sure. From me, Chris Hartley in the box, hope you've enjoyed the coverage. We'll hand back now to Verena.
And I've got Marco Wittmann here, who just jumped through the picture to get his cappy. Congratulations, P3 in qualifying is pretty good. I mean, in Monza you had a P5 in the race, so do you think today you'll manage to grab a podium?
Well, let's see, especially what the weather prediction says. There's maybe some rain showers around, but obviously for us qualifying was mega, you know. Zolder was not the track we really hoped for good results, especially with the low speed corners, the chicanes. Normally it doesn't fit the M6, but my team made a great job, a great effort. I had just a perfect car, you know. It was good fun to drive in quali, and actually I'm super happy with P3.
That's cool, and we're really looking forward to an exciting race. Also, we've got spectators here in Zolder. So how does that feel? Hopefully getting a podium here and doing a good race in front of spectators.
Yeah, that would be awesome, to be honest. It's nice to have the spectators back. Finally, I mean, it was a long time racing without them, and obviously racing without fans is not the same. So obviously you feel the spirit, you're just like when the fans are cheering to you. It's super nice. Obviously the next part would be to have them back in the paddock. That would be as well nice. But it's a first step, you know, to have them on the grandstands, and it's just great to see all the fans out there watching us, cheering us. It's good fun.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck for the race later on, Marco. Thank you so much. And that's it from us for the moment. Enjoy the highlights for now, and we'll see you later for the race. You don't want to miss it, that's for sure. Bye-bye.